Good afternoon, YTPC. How are you all out there? Been a little while. I've been relaxing here down in the valleys in southern Switzerland. Going to talk a bit about Trout stream, which is now officially my new best all-day smoke aromatic. It is absolutely fantastic, and I'll talk a little bit about it. But the other topic is knives and cheese knives. You know, I collect knives and Bowie knives and military knives, all kinds of different ones. And of course, we have in Switzerland a lot of cheese, and we need cheese knives as well. Here's a nice example of one. This particular one is kind of interesting because they actually put the mountain peaks on one side, and this is a profile of the Swiss Alps with many of the famous mountains here, the Matterhorn here on my left. So that's a nice one, nice and sharp. So that's great for sort of cutting a nice sort of regular sized piece of cheese, you know, when you're having guests or whatever. And if you're just out hiking, of course, the good old Swiss Army knife, you know. That is unbeatable with all its utilities, you know. That's the most important thing, the corkscrew for the wine. Produce a lot of wine in Switzerland, but of course, can opener with beer, and a long blade for carving a stick if you need a walking stick or something like that, and a shorter blade for the fine work, as it were. That's very standard Swiss Army knife from Victorinox. Used to be a couple of other makes now, but I think Victorinox bought them all out, and they're renowned all over the world, you know. And you could also use it, you take a piece of cheese with you to cut. But the penultimate Swiss Army knife is the one I'm about to show you. Well, you know, it's always best to do a demonstration, so I did one a little earlier from which this piece came, and here it is. Well, you have to admit it's got all the other ones beat, you know. The good old Halbard, or Halbard as you would call it in the English version of the name for that weapon, in fact, from the 1500s. That particular model was the Merton profile for the blade and spike, because there are a number of different ones which have different shapes. Here's some examples here for you to look at. And so you see that this is actually a very brilliantly worked out weapon, which was used by foot troops to both fight against cavalry and fight against armored knights. And if you think about the design of it, it's actually quite brilliant. Still today in the Vatican, the Schweizer Garda, or the Swiss Guard, his personal bodyguards, ceremonially are armed with a halberd. And the one I had was a nice reproduction model, actually not expensive, it was about a couple of $100 roughly, which I bought from the military armory in Thun, Thun, where they have a lot of this military paraphernalia, and clearly it's not an original. That would cost several thousand, but it is designed and actually made in pretty accurate way. For example, the carbon steel that's used on different parts of that halberd is refined by the blacksmith to different hardnesses and flexibilities. So of course the spike, you basically want to be pretty hard and inflexible, so you'd use more carbon in the steel so that the dislocations can lock in the metallurgy of the crystal structure of the iron, of the steel. It was an early form of steel. And on the cutting blade, of course, where I cut the cheese, and I hadn't sharpened this halberd, which I could have done, and then it would have gone swiftly through probably the wooden block and part of this granite table. You want also to be very hardened at the blade edge. Of course, other parts, there were little hook structures on that halberd where you are designed to hook the knight on the horse or on the ground and pull him over, so he loses his balance and equilibrium, and then you've got the better of him. And those parts are made of softer steel, which are more flexible and won't break or snap off. So, you know, it's quite extraordinary that there was a lot of know-how in making these kind of blades, and it's a very traditional Swiss weapon, and much older than the Swiss Army knife, I have to say. And if you've got a big piece of cheese and you need to split it in two, you can easily do it. There are several videos, I've attached some in the bucket, where some experts on military armor of different periods actually show what you can do with a sharpened and prepared real halberd, and probably not even a reproduction model, and you can hack 6x4 chunks of wood without any problem. You can hack through giant pumpkins and all kinds of things with it, and it's quite extraordinary. In the right hands and with the right training of the techniques, as I said, with different parts of that blade structure, it's a formidable weapon. And at the Battle of Murten, the Swiss made a short process of the Burgundians in that conflict because of the foot troops who were so well trained in this weapon. And of course most medieval armies at that time thought, we've got heavy knights on horseback, can ride over those foot troops no problem, and of course underestimating the enemy and their secret weapon, as it were, was a kind of that. It became actually quite widely used in Europe by other armies and troops once they saw the real value of such a great weapon. Well, here we are again. I've just repositioned myself in the garden to give you a nice shot of those lovely mountainous cliffs opposite place we use here. Well, we had a lovely feast a couple of days ago for the 1st of August. It was marvellous. So all the families, usually clans as it were, get together and have a nice celebration with some music and put lights up. Usually a nice dinner in the evening. Very often raclette, or winter is more fondue, but the summer is the raclette, which is melted slices of cheese with some boiled potatoes in their skins, nice little new potatoes, and all kinds of other salads and other stuff. Lovely. Well, housekeeping. This is actually an old pipe, a Floppy pipe. So Floppy is a company in Italy. It's more or less the sort of smoking pipes of Italy. It's one of the very larger tobacconists who offers everything, tobaccos and pipes of all the major brands, of course, and they have some good deals sometimes, and they will ship internationally. So have a look at Floppy pipes, but they have some which are inexpensive, which are their own. And this one is one that I bought, one of the early pipes I bought when I was not wanting to spend so much. It got a lot of wasps around this summer. There must be a nest around here. I must have personally put away 50 wasps with my electric tennis racket, but there's still a few about there. And this one is a 9mm. It's of course probably it's briar, and it's a lovely bent one. Nice large bowl and quite a heavy pipe with this sort of reddish brown top to it. It was about $45, something like that. Not a lot for a new pipe. Using my Zippo Dragon lighter here. Beautiful, nice, heavy, reliable lighter. It's not the Armor version. It's got a plate on top with that design, but actually what amazes me is the teeth slot absolutely perfectly every time in. So the tamper is just a good old Deco 8. Incredible value for money, beautifully finished, this particular one, with the spike screwed in the top, and this lovely head with the holes in it. Just I love these Deco 8 tampers. They're just functionally excellent, and really a number of them really very attractive. Well, the star of the show is Trout Stream. Now this particular one I got from Four Noggins, and of course it's basically Trout Stream is a match of the blend that, for example, Gerald Ford used to favour. Remember him? Actually a very good president, low key, you know, maybe not the most polished in giving sort of public appearances, but really down to earth and get on with the issues president, I thought. I very much like Gerald Ford. Well, if you look on tobacco reviews, of course, they often refer to the pipes and cigars. I just had the chance to stamp on a wasp. Couldn't resist it. The pipes and cigars match blend, but there's a comment below which basically says it's identical to the Four Noggins offering, and many who have then reviewed, some have used pipes and cigars, and some have used Four Noggins. So, well, this is quite a momentous moment for me in my aromatics, because you know the one that I've always said I give the full 4 stars to is Sir Walter Raleigh Aromatic, and it's still up there with that score, but now it's got a companion at that top level, and it's this one. It's Trout Stream. Now this is a pure Cavendish and Black Cavendish mix, and what I've also realized at this point in my learning in pipe smoking is that I really am favoring Cavendish and Cavendish blends because they are low nicotine and they are sweet, and they I think help that there is no tongue bite. Even though they're sweet, they're not loaded with sugar like Virginias that they burn so hot. That's my opinion, but, and you know, I've still got a lot of blends and Cavendishes to smoke, but I think there's some truth in that. What is extraordinary about this one, Trout Stream, is that I actually smoked 3 bowls one evening. We were having a lovely chat with the neighbours, and I got the bourbon bottle out, and of course it went into the late hours of the evening, and quite a bit of bourbon. But I actually smoked 3 bowls of this, which I tend to try and not smoke more than 2, because I know my tongue is going to complain the next morning. Whatever I do, filters, technique, choosing the right blends. I'm not the sort of person that can consecutively smoke 3 bowls in a row, or let's say even at different times 5 bowls in a day. It's you know, I have to put the brakes on a little bit. But this one I could, and the next day I didn't notice any significant discomfort, and it's got a lot of other smoking qualities. For example, the entire smoke right down to the end is very consistent. It's got this absolutely gorgeous soft taste with, of course, all around it the caramel. So it's brown Cavendish and black Cavendish, and there's a topping of caramel, and the caramel topping is not extreme, it's not overpowering, it's just at the right level that you know it's there, no question, you don't have to search for it. What amazes me is it's quite a simple blend. There's not even more. There's 2 different types of Cavendish, that's it. There's no Virginian, there's no Burley, and yet it's so perfect. For a Codger pouch blend, it would be my Codger choice. It's and at the moment, if I suddenly lost my entire stock of pipe tobacco, I could quite happily live probably the rest of my life just smoking this. But as you know, I'm curious and I like to try different things, so I'm glad I've got all the others to choose from. But this is quite extraordinary. I bought 16 ounces of this from 4 Noggins. Well, I think that's it for this video. I'll make a few more when I'm back at our main house, but just thought I'd take up some contact with you right now when I'm down here. Got beautiful weather. Last couple of days were a bit cloudy and actually had some rainy days here, but that's a nice balance for nature. So for the wine harvest, that's good. And now we've got some hot dry weather coming up, which will be perfect, and we start to move into the period when the wines are, when the wine grapes are going to be harvested in August. Okay, well, you take care, everyone. Be safe, look after yourselves out there, and I'll see you in 4 or 5 days with another video. Take care. Bye bye.